All right, go ahead.
So basically, that's what I'm going to speak about. What's my experience after my MBA in Eisenberg School of Business. So what I want to let you know is that not so long ago, I was where you're right now, and I know what the anxiety is to be where you're right now. I'm sure with COVID and with everything that happened since 2016, it's a little harder for you. So please, talk to me as a friend. Whenever you need support, I will be more than happy to help you with that. And I want to start with that because I got a lot from Eisenberg, and that's my way to pay it forward. And I'm sure every person that gets his MBA from Eisenberg and get a good job, it's that person that's improving our ranking and the way people think about our university and our program. So that's the first thing I want to tell you. So to start, who's this guy? Who am I? I'm Nicolas Cardenas. I'm originally from Caracas, Venezuela. I currently work as a client solutions manager for Facebook in Miami. Basically, I manage the verticals of music and media and entertainment, mainly music, and finance for Facebook Latam, and I do that from Miami. Prior to that, I worked for Dish Latino, basically learning a lot and focusing on the US Hispanic market. There are a lot of opportunities there. And I ended up working for Dish after getting my MBA internship in Dish Networks while getting my MBA at Eisenberg. I'm originally from Venezuela, and Eisenberg was the best possible transition for me from my home country, Venezuela, to the US, and gave me the tools and the preparation for me to be a good professional and to seek a career in the corporate world here in the US. Prior to Eisenberg in Venezuela, I found with two of my best friends and my sister, tudescuenton.com, which was basically the first Groupon model in Venezuela. We started that in 2010, and it was an amazing experience. It was, I will say, one of the top 3 e-commerces in Venezuela. As you know, the situation in Venezuela is quite unique, so we had a lot of issues, but that opened me a lot of doors, including Eisenberg. And during my college, I got my degree in economics. To be honest, I have never worked in anything related to my career in economics, but I usually use the way of thinking or the rationale that you get by getting that career in everything I do almost on a daily basis. So how did I get to Eisenberg? When I started applying to different programs, MBAs and different programs, I was accepted in about 4 programs, but the 2 finalists were NYU and Eisenberg. The thing that I liked about NYU was the name and the city. The thing I loved the most about Eisenberg and how I got to Eisenberg was, all this sport industry thing. When I arrived to Eisenberg, I gotta be 100% honest, I found out that the opportunities related to sports are not that many. I don't want to discourage you to follow your dreams or follow your passions in the sport industry. But I think if you start a career in the sport industry, they will treat you as a fan. And basically they do that because they can. There are some people that are willing to work almost for free because they are huge fans or something and they can do that. If you want to get to the sport industry, I think that will be one of the last steps of your career. And I recommend getting there once you have a full experience in other things. That's just a personal opinion, but I think I agree with this guy. I don't know if you know this guy. It's not playing. Well, basically, this is the person that did the series, The Worst Jobs in the World. I don't know if you have seen that. And basically, he ended up being really successful doing this TV show because he said, I didn't pursue my passion. My passion was to be on TV and to be a celebrity. I started chasing opportunity. And the first opportunity he got was doing the worst possible jobs in the world until he got the opportunity to build a TV show out of that. And that's how he ended up becoming a star. And the example that he uses in this video, I'm going to share the video later because it's not playing now, is that everyone wants to be an astronaut when they are kids, or many people want to be an astronaut when they are kids. However, they don't get there not because they are not good at being an astronaut or because they don't have enough passion. It's because of the statistics. There are this many amount of astronauts in the world, so probably you can get closer to that by working in NASA, by being an engineer, by doing that things, and by doing that, by chasing opportunities, you might end up getting to be an astronaut. In the process, you might fall in love with different things. which is something that happened to me. I wasn't passionate about doing marketing for US Hispanics, but I accepted that opportunity and it started opening me doors until I got here to where I am in faith. So the first thing I want to speak about is, how to write a resume. I just Googled like how to write a resume and I got 169 million answers. And don't get me wrong, you should follow all these advices. There's a lot of people in Eisenberg that are experts building resumes. And it's not a secret that nowadays, many of your resumes, when you're applying for a job, are being read by a robot. So there are a lot of things that you need to understand in order for you to, conquer that robot. But my main recommendation here is to be unique. And by being unique, I'm not telling you to build one resume that's pink with yellow letters and it's written backward. No, by any means I say that. Follow the structure, follow like the rules and know how to play the game. But sometimes being unique is more important than building the exact same resume that other people are gonna get. And why? Because sometimes the game of the resume is built by people that are applying from Ivy Leagues. And don't get me wrong, I love Ivy Leagues, I admire these people. But if you play the same game that they are playing, they are gonna pick someone from those universities and not someone from Eisenberg. However, there are a lot of things that plays in your favor. I'm gonna speak about that later, how I use Eisenberg and why Eisenberg is such an amazing school for you to get a job that you usually don't get through a resume. So when building a resume, don't try to play the exact same games that all these guys from Ivy Leagues, from consulting, from banking are doing. Just try to play and find a way that you can sound unique. I'm sure Swap has a unique experience from India that no one else has from other things. Take advantage of those things. I'm sure Alan is doing the same with all his background of entrepreneurship that he told me. I took advantage of being Venezuelan and, at that moment was living in the economy with the highest inflation rate in history and how to build a company there. That was more interesting for people that was interviewing me than anything related to the casual and the usual words that we get to say when we think. So when building your resume, of course, and don't get me wrong, follow all the advices, but when reading through it, try to find 2 or 3 points that will make it a unique one. And by having that unique one, I'm sure during your interviews, these are the 3 things that will come up and the things that you will be more comfortable speaking about it. Because if you start thinking about that you grew something by 20%, that's so robotic in a sense. So try to build that unique story and try to put it in your resume in a way that it stands out. Any questions here? I'll take this as it. So one of the things I learned, and it was late for me in my career to learn this, it was after I moved to the US, was the power of diversity. It's not a secret that a lot of companies are, building all this diversity and inclusion politics, and they are trying to do a lot of things with that. As an anecdote, something that happened to me 10 minutes ago, I'm building a campaign with a client, and there's some specific things that I need to be whitelisted for. And I received an email saying, please don't use the word whitelisting because it's offensive. So that's how extreme this is getting on certain companies. But I don't want to speak about this in that way. I want to speak about this from a business standpoint and how important it is for a business and to generate revenue diversity. And I'm going to tell the story about Dove. Dove is part of Unilever. In 2000, I think it was 2012, Dove as a brand was about to crash. Like it was going to be over. And one of the things that happened with Dove is that they found out that they were building products for people with the perfect hair. And then they got one person from Jamaica joined the company. And she somehow in one of these, marketing meetings, she wasn't one of the top executive or C-level executive. She was working sort of a branding position in a low tier. She said, you know what? I used to live in the beach, like my house was in front of the beach, and I wasn't able to go to the beach. And she asked them, why? And everyone started saying things, but they were all thinking based on their background. And this girl said, you know what? Because of my hair. You don't know how hard for me is to control my hair, and how difficult for me was, living in front of a beach but not being able to go to the beach because of my hair. So based on that, insight that was unique from this person from a different background, like her Venezuelan inflation was her hair. And she took advantage of that. And based on that, they built products for this type of hair. And this sounds like incredible, and this sounds like a typical magic Disney story, but it's true. And based on that insight, they start building products for many other type of not only of hairs, but also of bodies. And Dove embraced that, and that's how they saved the company. And they saved the company, and now they're selling even more because of that. And if you go to Unilever webpage, you will see that this is a key statistic. They are measuring how many people from the board are females, how many are males, like how they balance the work-life balance. So believe me, it's not only to say that being different or being unique is not only something that you need in order to fill a quota. It's something that would actually add value to a company. So when you describe yourself about how unique you are, and this is not only from a race standpoint, this is not only from a language standpoint or from a gender standpoint, you're all unique in a certain way. The way you sell it is what I want to give to you. Like the way you sell how unique you are about something, it's a way it will help you success in a company, because everything else it's already built. Technology will help you get there. So think about it. And also think about it when you're applying to a job, when you're writing your cover letters. Try to understand what's that unique portion of you that will highlight it and use that in your favor during cover letters. The thing about writing cover letters is not, the way you write it or what you put in each paragraph. It's what's different from other else that will say, oh, this might be interesting. In the end, we're speaking to people. If they find you interesting, they will probably recommend you, and you will start looking for different roles. What's also important, and don't get me wrong, for me that this was really good. Trista, she can keep me honest here. When I arrived to UMass, my English level, now it's not like excellent. It's good, and I'm fine with that. When I arrived to UMass, it wasn't that good. But I started applying to a lot of jobs that were like English only, and I said, you know what, let me do this. And then I found out this study about women not applying to jobs because they feel they are not qualified. And again, don't get me wrong here, it's not that you're going to apply to each and every role that you see on the internet, but if you see that you have at least one of the qualifications or of the requirements that you need to get a job, go for it. Apply. You're not losing anything. Be smart. Don't apply. If you want to work for Facebook, don't apply to 500 roles on Facebook. Do your homework and try to find which are the best matches. But if you think you might be a good match, go for it. Like you can't pre-fail. There's not such a thing as pre-failing, but we pre-fail a lot by convincing ourselves that we're not adequate for a specific job or role. And one of the things that I want to show you is that how many of you will apply to a job which the requirement is read 500 words per minute?
I would, because I love reading, I guess.
Okay. So I'm sure I can confirm. How many of you think that you're able of reading 500 words per minute now?
I don't think so, but just out of curiosity, because I love reading, that may be one of the reasons. But yeah, I would certainly be careful mentioning that I might not be able to meet the requirement.
Okay, what if I prove you that the 5 of you can read 500 words per minute? Are you ready? You're watching your screen right now?
Yep.
Okay. Good luck. Okay. Were you able to read the 500 words per minute? Okay. So what I'm telling you this, because You did not learn how to read 500 words in 1 minute. Technology gave you the opportunity to do so. So what I want to mention with this is that, like, when you're starting a new job in a new role, probably most of the things that you will need to know are going to be, you're going to be held by a lot of technology. And the only thing that you will need to add is to, like, the only thing that you will need to have is go through a learning process where you will need to understand how to use that technology. I'm using this extreme example to prove the point. But this happens with Tableau, with SQL, with Excel, with whatever you think you will need for a job. You will be able to learn how to use a technology. Technology is a tool that you will learn how to use, and mostly nowadays, the only way to learn to use it is by using it. So don't feel like anxiety if you don't know how to use or perfectly use one of these programs, because most of the times, most of the jobs, they're not expecting you to know how to use it the way they want you to use it, and they're willing to teach you that. So don't prevent that from trying to look for your job or trying to apply for something. What you need to understand is what value you can add by yourself, and it has more to do with curiosity, with your capacity to do things from a certain point of view. It's based on your capacity to analyze, your capacity to, your soft skills. So the more comfortable you are with your soft skills, and the more you are able to share those soft skills with the others, either during the interview or while doing your job, the better you're going to do. Reading 500 words a minute, which it's just the example, which in other words is being amazing at Excel, knowing how to use Tableau, or being the best in SQL, believe me, those are things that you're going to learn. And you don't need to be the best in SQL to be the best in your job. You need to get to a minimum level in SQL that will take you there. And by SQL, I mean any of the programs that you're going to use. This is what I call the MBA factor. In the MBA, if you are taller than, I use meters. If you're taller than 2 meters, it's marginal what you're going to improve by being taller than that. With all these programs, it works the same. Once you get to enough level, you're good enough to do whatever you need to do with those 7 jobs. If you become the best one and you know how to handle macros and you build like models based on that, amazing. But again, you can learn that. Curiosity, what you do on a daily basis, what type of podcasts do you listen to, what things you're aware of, that's actually what will make you who you are, not only as a person, but as a professional. And that will definitely going to add value and will transform you into someone valuable for the company. Any questions here? Okay. Now, I know that CIMA works from NYU, but I'm going to use NYU as an example. As I mentioned during my intro, while deciding which program I was going to get, the two finalists were NYU and UMass. If I, like, the things that I was considering was first the cost of the MBA and what was going to be my salary increase. As a Venezuelan, the salary increase was going to be 1,000% no matter which program I picked, because comparing to the salary in Venezuela, that wasn't a discussion. But when analyzing NYU against UMass, I found out that I was going to be able to get my MBA with zero debt from UMass. Actually, it wasn't zero. It was around $11,000 compared to the debt I got from NYU, which was $168,000 based on what I estimated by then. Then, of course, the expected salary, and don't get me wrong on this, like nothing wrong with this. The expected salary from a graduate from NYU was around $150K, while my expected salary by graduating from Eisenberg was around $105,000, which was the salary that I got when leaving the MBA. What happened? I thought, okay, so let me put myself in a position 2 years after I graduated. When doing that exercise, I found out that by having a $168,000 debt, probably my work decision was going to be based fully on a salary portion. Like, I was going to base my decision based on salary, which, don't get me wrong, is good. It's fine. If you like I love having money, and I love that everyone gets a lot of money, but sometimes that's not the best for your career in the long term, because that closes you a lot of doors or put you in one of these roads in order for you to be a consultant, then start increasing as a consultant, then do this, or in a financial world, and then you will burn up by the age 45. And for me, that wasn't the best way to go. So I thought, well, which has the lowest risk? And I said, well, I prefer having zero debt and having the opportunity to find a job anywhere in the world than having as $160,000 debt and then needing to find a job to fill that obligation. And from a price value standpoint, I don't know that there's a program as good as Eisenberg. And by that, that's something that has come in every interview that I have done since I graduated. And that's something that every manager likes. No one, like everyone will love to have in a team that understands what's the price value, that's making a great price value decisions. And when you make price value decisions, understanding what's the cost of opportunity. In my case, my cost of opportunity was not graduating from NYU, from Stern University, which is one of the top 10 in the world. That was my opportunity cost. And being able to explain that I decided Eisenberg, and this was the right decision, opens you a lot of doors because it shows the way you think, not what program did you get your MBA from. And that helps a lot. Another thing that helped me a lot, and this is not related to what I'm showing here in the slide, is that it's not a secret that while being in Amherst, like job fairs are not gonna be as cool and as big as you get when you live in big cities such as New York, Boston, Seattle, San Francisco, you name it. And that's okay, that's a reality, and that's a reality that we need to deal with. So one of the things that I did was myself going to all these events. I reached out to a lot of people. To be honest, since my first day in the program, my main goal was to get a good internship, because a good internship will open you a lot of doors, and that helped me understand how the real business work, and how you need to connect with different people, and you need to take the time to connect with them as persons and not as referrals. And then once you connect with them as persons, it's going to be easier for you to get a referral from them, and that's probably the best way to get an interview. But once you get to that interview, it's all on you for you to get the jobs and for you to get whatever solutions you want with your career. But you must, like, if I tell you what's a good part, I already told you the price value. What's the challenge? Well, the challenge is that companies won't come and get you there. You will need to go to the companies, to the job fairs, to whatever, and try from there to get the interview. And going back to the first stop about being unique, what I did was trying to find those job fairs where my uniqueness was playing a role. For example, I went to Pro Hispanic, I think was the name of that event. And there was a job fair, which means there's a job fair of companies trying to look for Hispanics. So I think, well, if they're trying to look for Hispanics, they're trying to look for people like me. And that helped me to get 1 or 2 interviews. So understand not only what your uniqueness are, but also where your uniqueness gives you an advantage, and try to play from there. So I don't want to sound, as this old grandpa trying to give you advices about the world and how to do things. I have no idea on how to do things. I'm just saying what worked for me. The first thing is to be patient. Being patient helps a lot, because dealing with anxiety, it's really, really hard. And instead of helping you get where you want to be, it will only prevent you from being more analytical on what your actual situation is. The second is be grateful and pay it forward. I'm 100% grateful to Eisenberg and to a lot of people that helped me during my career. And by paying it forward, I mean, do things like what I'm doing right now. Help others that were in your position and help them in the way you would love to be helped when you were there. So, again, you're now here, but in 2 years, probably you're going to be somewhere else, and you're going to get an email, a call from 3-Star or from someone from Eisenberg, and be open to help them, because at that stage, you will know more things about yourself than you know right now, and you will fully understand what was your position when you were there. Again, for you, it's going to be harder, COVID, certain things, but it's not going to be hard. It's going to be unique. So your experience is going to add even more value to them. Third, be curious. In most of my interviews, people stop asking about job-related questions quite often, and they start asking about more personal questions in a good way. What do you read? What do you like besides working? Like, what's your passion? And from those conversations is where you get the most from a person. That doesn't mean that I'm a big soccer fan. If you don't like soccer, I'm not going to hire you. That means it helps you to find a way and to understand the way someone thinks, how his background, how his experience is help you think in a certain way. And for that, I recommend, like, even though I'm not a consultant and I never want to be a consultant, there are a lot of books for interviews for consultants. And in those books where you will get a lot of cases that in the end, what will help you is to understand how to think when one of those cases is presented. You don't need to, be the expert in all cases. What you need to learn is how it works. Like, my advice is not for you to go there and read all the books and solve all the cases. It's to understand how to play that game, because it will help you a lot and help you open a lot of doors. And last but not least is to negotiate the salary without fear, even as an international student. Like, I gotta be honest, I have a US passport, which gave me a huge advantage. So I was not in that position, but I know about a lot of friends who got a job as international students. And sometimes they were so afraid about getting the job that they didn't negotiate. Let me tell you something. The worst that can happen when you get accepted in a job, and if you get accepted in a job, is because they want you. They have a lot of people that they can pick and they want you. It's not to negotiate a salary. They're expecting you to negotiate. And the worst that could happen is for them to tell you, no, my offer is the original one, which is what you already have in the table. So negotiate that. Negotiate not only about numbers, be rational. If the package includes stock options, if the package includes signing bonus, relocation, stock options show, for example, that you believe in the company, and that for a company is quite good. Like, you're not fully interested in the salary that you need to be, by the way, but you're also interested in the future of the company, and you prefer having stock options than something else. That's one. And the other recommendation, so the last advice, and this probably apply the most, I see Stephanie connected. Stephanie is a fellow from when we used to study together. So for international students, one advice I give you is don't try, like, probably staying in the US is your final goal, but take advantage of, like, finding a job in Facebook right now. I think the best place that you have as an international person to get it, it's in Ireland. In Ireland, you will have all the tech companies that are looking for all international people. And as an employee, it's going to be easier for you to get transferred than trying to get the job directly in the US. It will solve the company a lot of issues, and it will help you a lot to get there. And this is not only for Facebook. This works for Facebook, for Microsoft, for Google, for all of them, for the big tech companies. And it's not only Ireland. In India, you have a lot of places where you can work and be transferred to the US in a period of 2-3 years. In Mexico, there are a lot of, Brazil is growing quite good. And in all of these countries, they value an MBA from the US way more than in the US. In the US, it's valuable. In all of these countries, like, extremely valuable. Like, you're unique in that way. So take advantage of that and, start looking around for other countries. And that background, when you add that to your resume, I lived 3 years in Ireland. I lived 2 years in Mexico. I started this in Brazil. That will also help you grow as a professional. It will open you a lot of doors. I have seen a lot of people in Facebook doing that and being successful doing that. And even growing within the company was easier in those places. And when they arrive to the US, they arrive in a way higher role that they will get if they do it just by staying in the US. So if your goal is to stay in the US, think about that goal, not in 1 year, but in a process of 4 or 5 years. And take Eisenberg as the first step. But be open to different places, because I think that's where the best opportunities are for you, and that's where you're gonna when you're gonna feel the most welcome. Once you work in this company and this another company, and you have all this experience, it's gonna be easier for you to come back with a different visa, which is like a transfer, and with that you're gonna get the green card in a period of 1-2 years. So I'll totally recommend that, and I'm open to talk offline if you're interested in learning more about that. with that being said, I'm done. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm open to feedback as well. I'd love to get feedback from you if needed. So feel free. I would like to have a conversation with you guys and also learn more about it.
Yeah, thanks so much for your presentation, Nicolas. I have some questions for you. I was curious if you could share with us how you differentiated yourself as a candidate. So how did you stand out as the best candidate for your role to Facebook?
So it depends on the role. For Facebook specifically, they were looking for someone that had experience dealing with clients, and not with clients in a way that you sell them things, but in a way that you educate them. And when I brought up my experience was to the Cuenton, I was selling something so new for my market that I needed to educate basically everyone. I was not selling something like I wasn't selling food to restaurants, which is something they know. I was selling a business model and a marketing model that was really new for them. So explaining how that experience worked and having telling the story was really useful, because it helps the person that is asking the questions to put themselves in your position. And in that case, for the Facebook, it helped a lot.
Awesome, thank you. I'm curious what the greatest challenge that you're facing in your current role is.
I think I lose you, but I think your question was about my challenges in my role right now.
Yeah.
So in Facebook, everyone suffers from what we call the imposter syndrome. And the imposter syndrome means that you feel that you're not the right person for the job, and that like you need to learn and you don't know anything. And dealing with that anxiety has been hard for me, because it's not something that happens only during the first month. It keeps happening over and over again. Sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's higher, but it is that way. Why? Because my role is to be Facebook in front of clients. And when you are Facebook in front of clients, whatever questions they are asking, they want you to be like Mark Zuckerberg. And don't get me wrong, there's no way that you can understand and know everything, because once you feel an expert in something, in Ads Manager or any of the tools, believe me, they will change that. And once they change it, you need to start from zero again, because whatever they told you before, change it. And as an example, I can tell you this. The most expensive banner in Facebook in 2013, and this like sounds like it's 7 years ago, it's only 7 years ago, but in Facebook Live it's 100 years ago, was the banner that appeared when you logged out. So imagine how things have been changing, that 99% of all the impressions that are shown right now are showing on a mobile device, and how old that sounds. But not that long ago, 7 years ago, while I was in Eisenberg, they were selling the most expensive ad that you can sell on Facebook was the ad that appears when you log out. So all these changes, you need to be reading and reading and reading. And again, if you prove that you're curious, if you prove that you're a continuous learner, if you prove your adaptability capacity, that's what the company is looking for. They don't want you to know how to install the banner when you log out, because that's something that will definitely change in a matter of months.
Awesome, thank you. The last question that I wanted to ask you was, how can I best be of help to you? I would love to make any introductions if you're looking to have new clients at Facebook, and I'm highly engaged with virtual networking events online and educational and other resources. So I would love to serve as a resource to you in any way I can.
Sure, no, thank you very much. Let's connect via LinkedIn, and you can speak more about it to see if there's something there that will help. But thank you very much. Really appreciate it, Alan.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for answering my questions.
I had a question. So how do we balance between coldly applying online and getting reference through our contacts, and like how do I balance that, especially now because there are only online events, and the online events, however we call it, it doesn't really give a chance to to make a personal connection? How do you think we can make a balance between coldly applying online, especially for a company like Facebook? Like I in fact, if I see on LinkedIn posting, there are like already over 200 applicants for like any job postings. How do we balance that?
I don't recommend cold applying for any job. Like if you find a position, what I usually do if I go to LinkedIn, I put the company and put Eisenberg or something that will relate me to that person. Try to find like people and try to find people that are like first level connection or second level connection. I don't know if level is the right word, but like that are connected to you, and try to connect with them and ask them. If that usually, if they are from the same school, if you are like, if you go there with a good attitude, they will probably reply. And I think that's the best way. And you can be 100% honest with them. You can tell them, if I cold apply here, there's no way I'm getting the job. But you also need to be realistic. Like, I don't recommend you applying for a CEO job, because that, like no one will put themselves in a position of referring someone that they actually don't know for a position in the company, because your reputation is there as well. So if you're doing it that way, I recommend being able to prove that you're good at something during the first conversation. And also, like, be humble on what you don't know, and if you're open to see if these persons recommend you to apply. Because sometimes, like, if you reach out to me, I will be more than happy to help you. But probably I might tell you, so I would love to recommend you to this position, but I don't think this is the right position for you. Let's try to find another one or whatever. And by doing that, you are not applying to a position, you're building a connection, and somehow you're going to end up being referred. As an example, I applied for this Facebook role through a Facebook employee, and I got rejected. And then I sent my resume to a friend in Visa, and she replied an email without even asking me, saying, Nico, I know you want to move to Miami. I have nothing for you in Visa right now, but I just shared your email with someone at Facebook and probably to see if they have something there. And that's how they end up reaching out to me. So every door is a good door. You don't know where that door will take you. Again, pursue opportunity. Don't follow passion. Like, try to chase opportunity.
Interesting. I'll add a second question. So before you moved to Facebook, you did your internship at Dish Network, and then you got a full-time. So does Dish usually convert their interns to full-time, or did you have that conversation between you and them, and like how did it pan out? I believe that possibly I have a chance to convert my internship to full-time. I haven't had that conversation with them yet. So how did you approach that?
I didn't need a sponsorship, and that was a huge advantage for me. I don't feel prepared enough to answer that question to you, because, like, since I didn't went through that, I don't have enough experience to answer that. And I think, like, any reference that I can have was from a totally different country than the one we have right now. So I don't feel comfortable, like, giving you an advice there. But my advice will be, try to find other international students from Eisenberg. I know there are a lot, and ask them how they did that. At what stage did they have that conversation? Because don't get me wrong, having, like, the company is also, they also know that you're international, and they're taking advantage from you in a way that, like, they're in a position where I want to have this guy as much as possible, but I don't want to give him the sponsorship. So the best thing to do is to be honest, both sides, and have the conversation as soon, because that will also help you to start looking for other positions right away.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to raise a good point that Stephanie put in the chat, and it's that just because you connect with somebody, and, you know, so as an alumni standpoint, you know, someone connects with you and you have this conversation, don't assume that that alumni is going to automatically be this referral and be that in. You know, it really is about the relationship. And this is something I stress all the time is like, especially with conversation one, you really want to talk to this person, but be authentic and like form this relationship. But you also want to prove to them that you're a good candidate, right? Because if, say, Stephanie recommends you for a role, or, you know, anybody recommends you, their name is on the line. And so it's really very, very true that you have to learn the role, learn your skill sets. And when you have this conversation with a recruiter or an alumni that you're hoping to get to the next level, or have someone put in a referral link for you, it's about making sure that it's true, right? And that you're not putting up this facade. You know, you really do have to be authentic and be true to who you are, because it'll show. And I've definitely had experiences where, you know, people have done that to me. They want to have a conversation. They think that because I accepted the conversation, that I'm automatically putting a referral in for them. And sometimes that's just not the case. So I think going into any conversation that you have, just trying to like put your best foot forward is huge. So I think Stephanie has a really good point there.
I agree, and treat that first conversation as an interview. Like, be responsible. Like, this first conversation is not a conversation with a friend. It's a conversation with someone that probably they don't have like all the time in the world, and they are taking part of that time to help you. So be as responsible as possible, be business honest. And sometimes the answer is no. They will tell you, no, I don't want to. But sometimes there's an indirect no from there.
And sometimes it takes a couple conversations, right? I mean, if your first conversation, you're trying to, you know, put your best foot forward, that might not happen the first time. And they might say like, could we talk another time, or could we have a secondary conversation? So it's a relationship. I like Stephanie's, she said, use your network as a network. Like, it really is like the building of the blocks, the building of the relationships, and always building those connections before you even need something too, you know? So connecting with alumni, connecting with people, and building that network. So when you do look to pivot or career change, you have a solid base too.
Another recommendation is, there's the famous tech companies, like the big four or whatever, but there are 1,000 cloud companies and tech companies. I totally recommend subscribing to Wall Street Journal, to the online version. It's like $3 a month if you're a student, and read the tech section. And in those tech sections, you will know about 100 different companies that are valued $1 billion, like their market cap is $30 billion, and you don't even know about them. And try to get there and find some information for those, because those are the ones that are also seeking for a lot of employees.
So question for Nicolas or Stephanie, either one can certainly respond, but there's so much information being published, coming out, podcasts, books. What are your recommendations for staying within your own industry areas? Like, what do you currently listen to or read? And especially in a sense of like, we can't do it all, right? Like, there's only so much time in a day. So if you were to pick like some blogs or some podcasts or sites, like, where do you go to kind of stay fresh and stay up to date?
I let Stephanie answer first. Stephanie, you're on mute.
I'm actually looking for my next role now. I'm learning new SFDC skills on Trailhead. So Salesforce skills, different trailheads. Those are great.
Yeah.
Can I ask
my
a question?
Go ahead.
Next. Sorry, no, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
So on my side, I usually try to get two podcasts. One's called Snacks and one's called The Journal, about general knowledge. Those are quite short podcasts, 15 minutes each. I don't hear them every day, but I try to hear them many times per week, and that helped me a lot. Yeah. And then one of the things when dealing with clients, which is part of my role now, or which is my main role now, you are Facebook for the clients, but then you are the clients for Facebook. So you need to read a lot about them, and you need to understand the way they think, their KPIs. And one of the things that's quite useful for that, and I totally recommend doing it when you're going to an interview, is reading their earning reports. Usually on their quarters and their yearly earning reports, they include a letter where they explain where they want to be. And they use all these keywords that usually these employees are using on a daily basis, and they think everyone else is using it, and that's not the case. We get so centric about our company and about our job that sometimes we feel that everyone is doing the same. But from those documents, you get a lot of information that you can use for an interview, especially when at the moment for you to ask questions. And when dealing with clients, that's helping me a lot.
Also, I wanted to add on to your really brilliant point about startups earlier. I read a post on LinkedIn by Maya Grossman, who is at Google and Microsoft, about looking to really prominent venture capital firms and seeing what startups those companies are investing in, because those are going to be primed for acquisition by big tech just due to the really intensive nature of the vetting process of those companies.
And Alan, to your point, there's a lot of things happening outside Silicon Valley, and I will try to look for those companies, especially in Austin. Austin is becoming like I'll say like the low budget Silicon Valley, but not low budget in a bad sense, but in a sense that it's like you don't need to pay $200 for a coffee. So a lot of companies are moving to this city, and Denver is also becoming one of those places. So usually cities tend to brag a lot when a company is successful. So try to read all these journals. If you want to move to a specific city, try to read about what the cities are telling, because they're usually proud about, Amazon opened their new office here, or this X startup just raised X amount of money. And that help you find those are the hot ones.
Yeah, it's a great tip.
There's so Seema has a question too about, I think, specific classes through Eisenberg that you maybe found valuable, especially probably in the elective space, and then also about concentrations. And obviously Swapnil or Alan could jump in too, or Stephanie, about like, do you feel in your current role or as you're seeking that a certain concentration makes sense? Or were there classes that you felt like really kind of built your toolbox?
I got the marketing concentration, to be honest. I'm still like, I still have as one of my projects getting the dual masters in sports. So I'm still looking for that. So I try to get as many courses as possible that were useful for the sports degree, but that was more from a passion standpoint than from the other way around. I got to be 100% honest. Most of the people that I know that are having a great career, they did a lot of background in finance, and they got the concentration in finance, and that was really useful for them to get all these CPA. I don't know the exact name, but there are a lot of tests that you need to get in order to work in the financial world. And Eisenberg prepared them really well through these courses. And I know there's something Six Sigma related. I didn't get that course, but I also know that people value that when looking for people.
I know I really liked, there was a quality analytics elective by Shirley Schmerling. So that was certainly I think anything data focused, data centered programming, Python. I mean, I feel like if I'm thinking about the trajectory, those are some of my recommendations.
Totally agree. And the way tech companies are seeing like programming is that it will be a blue collar job in the next 20 years. Because people will start learning. It's not that hard once you learn it. I have no idea how to program, like not even one code, but coding is not that hard. And if you start learning that since you are a kid, it's going to be way easier for you to manage. So a lot of blue collar jobs are going to be related to that. So imagine that will be the case in 30 years. All of us here have the capacity to learn how to code, I will say, in a period of between 6 months and a year. I don't say all of us will enjoy doing it, but we will be able to do that. So that's definitely something that will get you a job anywhere in the world.
Yeah. I like what Stephanie just said. She said, understanding the logic is the key skill, because you can learn the language, but the logic. and how things work. I also really liked negotiations as a course. I feel like negotiations, we talked about that, about how important it is to be able to negotiate your salary. And so having that as a course and being able to, sharpen your skill set, because there's so many people that don't feel comfortable doing that at all. So
I agree. So guys, I gotta go because I need to take care of my newborn baby. She's already 6 months, but we're really happy with her. So thank you very much for the opportunity. This was an amazing opportunity for me. Trista, feel free to share my contact with the other guys. I will be more than happy to speak with them.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate everyone jumping on. I will share the recording internally, and I'll share your information. And thank you so much. And yes, go take care of your baby. So happy for you.
I need to go back to Amherst to say hello to everyone. I haven't been there.
Yes, I know. I'll tell everyone you said hello.
I will.
Well, have a good evening. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much.